Hey guys. Alright, so it's taken me a minute to decide on what to do next. I don't want to do the same things over and over again. There's quite a few different pins on the best animals to start a homestead with, that kind of thing. I did settle on one other one that's like that. It's called the 9 Most Popular Homestead Animals. And it's because it has a little bit of extra information in it that I really want to get out there. So this also is from the Homestead Survival site. And here we go. If you're a new homesteader or thinking of starting a homestead, you've probably been wondering which animals you should get first. There's no need to jump in too quickly. Investing in animals for your homestead is a big commitment. It's important to take plenty of time to consider your options so you can do what's best for you and your family. In this article, we'll look at the 9 most popular homestead animals. They're popular for a reason, so let's find out why. Okay, number 1, chickens. A few chickens is a great place to start for animal self-reliance. Chickens produce eggs, and some breeds will also hatch their own chicks, providing you with a constant supply of new layers and roosters for consumption. Now, I've mentioned this before, and we definitely are going to get into making sure we have the hens that will raise their own chicks, because that can be a money source for your homestead, and we're definitely looking at that. Sorry about my messy hair. I need to get it cut. Anyway, for just starting out with chickens for eggs, a few standard egg layers in a movable coop can be a good idea. For more advanced chicken raising, small chicken breeds like Bantams, Silver Phoenix, and Silkies are more likely to have the requisite clutching instinct for raising your own chicks. You don't need those to get addicted to raising chickens. I'm already addicted to it. Smaller breeds also have better foraging instincts, so you can gain they can gain protein from bug sources versus requiring commercially prepared laying rations. Which, getting the chickens being able to get the protein they require from foraging is a lot healthier. And your eggs are going to be healthier. Chickens can be a very handy part of a permaculture garden, as they specialize in flattening and scratching up low ground covers, cleaning out insect populations, and even cleaning up fallen fruit and waste veggies, which they're also great for your compost, too. Many large cities are also permitting backyard flocks, usually 3 to 5 hens and no roosters. Check your local bylaws and see if you are able to raise a backyard flock. Just remember that you don't want to leave your garden hose in the chicken waterer, because if the city flushes the mains, it could act as a siphon, using a controlled waterer instead. Number 2, ducks. One step up from chickens and less threatening and obnoxious than geese, ducks can produce awesome eggs and also some very tasty meat. If you have a slug problem, we had a lot of problems with those in Michigan. And those things eat all your plants. And I'm pretty sure now that the problems I was having with the garden plants being eaten, it was by slugs. Ducks are also a very good option as they love slugs, though they also like drilling holes in every garden bed in sight if you let them. Ducks require more bedding than chickens, as they often go to bed wet. At the same time, they are very handy for keeping fly populations in check in other animal yards, clearing slugs out of grassy areas, and cleaning up garden waste. Ducks and chickens can be raised side by side and will often get along just fine. That's also another reason why all of our coops are going to be in the same area, And I'm also gonna make it to where they can go out and free range as well. Sorry. However, ducks require more water than chickens, as they have to clean their bills after puddling around in the dirt. So their water dirties far faster than that of chickens. If you are in a desert climate, you may want to begin with chickens and evaluate water usage before adding ducks. If you live close to other people, smell can be an issue with ducks due to them turning their housing into a wet zone. This either requires frequent cleaning or using something like wood shavings for bedding, combined with frequent liming to keep odor to a minimum. Alright, I'm not gonna get into that right. Sorry, I looked at something. Okay, number 3 is rabbits. Again, rabbits are another great place to start for animal self-reliance, and for many reasons. Rabbits are a favorite for backyard meat production. Sorry, I want to make sure my volume is turned up on here, because when it's not, you can barely hear the video. So we're going to turn this way up. Rabbits are a favorite for backyard meat production. Depending on the variety you choose, you can also get rabbits that produce fiber, but that is a lot more work than just raising meat rabbits. Even if you get a dual fiber and meat rabbit, rabbits require clean cages, frequently changed bedding, daily fresh water, and a consistent feed and amount of feed. Some breeds do quite well with an add-on of garden scraps, weeds, and other greens as well. For rabbits, temperature is a big issue. Shade and or a cooling system can be essential depending on your region and seasonal temperatures. Okay, so with us, for how hot it gets down here in the summer, we are going to have some kind of some kind of setup to where we can hook up at least a solar fan or something to keep the rabbits cooler. Now they will have they will have, their area in the barn, but I'm also going to have to make sure that doesn't get really hot. So that's something we're going to have to figure out with the rabbits. Processing rabbits is slightly more difficult than chickens or ducks, possibly due to the cute factor. Unlike poultry, however, rabbit skins can be processed into leather and used for clothing or blankets, where a thin leather with fur is essential. And again, we're gonna be raising rabbits just mainly to add as an income source for our homestead. So, number 4 is fish. Fish are a surprisingly easy way to raise a large quantity of protein in a small space, and you can raise them indoors or outdoors. Indoor fish raising is likely the most controllable and can even be worked into some indoor gardening, a pairing often referred to as aquaponics. With an outdoor fish pond, you need space and some protection from fish predators. If you are close to a natural water supply, you will also need only stock indigenous fish species, as otherwise escaped fish could damage your local ecosystem. Indoor fish growing or an aquaponic garden and fish raising system can be quite beneficial for the quantity of food produced. An aquaponic system is actually one of the recommended systems for high return urban farming. So that's something to keep in mind if you live in an urban area and you're trying to start an urban homestead. Number 5, bees. Beekeeping has become surprisingly popular in recent years, likely due to concerns that the bee population is dying off thanks to companies like Monsanto, but I don't want to get into that right now. Exactly. Bees are a great thing to have around if you have a vegetable garden, as they could significantly increase its production. You'll also get fresh honey, and if you don't need a lot of honey, you can sell the extra, which we'll probably do. Plus, you'll get lots of beeswax, which can be used for making things like soap and candles, as well as lip balms and lotions and a whole bunch of other things. However, due to the fact that bees can be very dangerous in large numbers, you really want to make sure you know what you're doing before you get started. Buy and read a quality book such as The Backyard Beekeeper. Find and meet local beekeepers if possible so you can ask them questions. And make sure you have all the necessary supplies and precautions before you order your bees. Don't order your bees. As Doug has said on their videos, you need to keep it local. Because if you order your bees, you don't really know what state they're coming from. And if they're from a different climate, they likely will not survive in your climate. If it's that much different. So it's much better to stay local with bees. Raising larger animals. Small livestock are very handy for small properties and city zoning. However, most small stock require a large amount of hands-on time for a relatively small return. Although one taste of a home-raised, free-range roast chicken can make all the fussing completely worthwhile. Larger livestock require more space and a larger quantity of feed, but some species can just about take care of themselves, and one goat or sheep is way easier to process than 50 chickens. I will not be processing our goats. Number 6, goats. Good fence checkers and brush clearers, which is the reason why I'm very seriously considering getting goats, at least 2 of them. A male and a female. Goats are handy for clearing land and driving farmers crazy, so it's good that they are cute. Never had goats. But when we get them, because I think I've pretty much made up my mind I want goats. So when we get them, I'm going to try to make sure they're babies. Because I'd like to raise them from being babies. Depending on the breed, you can get goats specialized for meat, milk, or even fiber. We're going to go for the dairy goats. Of course, milk goats can be eaten just as easily as a specialized meat goat. However, it's a lot harder to get decent milk from a meat breed than from a meat breed goat. Goats can graze or browse in overgrown areas. Just have good fencing or livestock guard animals to help keep them safe from predators. A good barn, good fences, and a wealth of patience are also very beneficial for raising goats. You can raise 2 goats or a goat and a sheep, but never a goat or a sheep on its own. They need a partner. Number 7, sheep, which we're not going to do. I've made my mind up to that. I don't want to try to have to worry about the extra space because we want a dairy cow and we need a couple of horses. And if I can land a deal where we can get some piglets for free, we're going to do piglets. And they need space, but we're going to raise the piglets for the meat. So standardly raised for wool or meat, sheep are a good choice if you have pasture land. Wool breeds are actually dual purpose. They just grow slower and taste better than the dedicated meat breeds. There are a few sheep breeds that are also used for milk production, but those sheep are standardly hair sheep and do not produce wool. Now, Doug and Stacy have hair sheep, but that's because they just don't want to deal with having to shear the sheep, and they don't want to have to deal with, the stuff that goes along with shearing. So, I mean, I'm with them on that one. That's another reason why. Besides the fact that I don't want to deal with the shearing, I also just don't want to deal with having to worry about having the extra pasture. We're already going to have to worry about having pasture for a dairy cow, horses, and pigs. So, sheep and goats have different mineral needs. Specifically, copper is toxic to sheep, but necessary for goats. If you are raising both, you need to make sure the goats are given mineral separate from the sheep. Sheep prefer to graze but will browse on occasion. They also have better mothering instincts than goats and will be slightly more successful raising their young. And that's something I'm going to have to remember. 8. Cattle. For simplicity of fencing, cattle are one of the easiest. A few strands of barb or electric wire and you are good to go. We're not going to go with electric fencing because it's going to be an off-grid property. And even if we end up being able to get our other house built and go solar, I still don't want to have to worry about that because it would just be too much. I don't know. The other house I'm talking about, that's just kind of up in the air, and I haven't even really done a video on it, so I don't know if I will. Not unless it's actually going to happen, so. Cows, whether milk or meat, will graze or browse, but it depends on the diet and food habits of the mother cow. They are less likely to try new plants compared to goats. Due to their size, each individual cow requires more feed than an individual goat or sheep. Milk cows produce up to 4 gallons of milk a day and can milk for more than 2 years without being rebred. However, due to the size differential, it is far harder to force a cow to cooperate, and a feisty cow can cause serious injuries. A cow is also much harder to process at home, at least compared to a goat or sheep. Okay. Now, with the cow situation, that is the reason why I'm thinking of going with a Dexter. Doug and Stacy have mentioned them. I've seen some other videos on them. They are a more docile they're a more docile dairy cow, and they're a smaller breed. So they're a little bit easier to handle and deal with. So that's the ones I'm actually thinking about going with. So obviously we'll get into that more when we know more about that. 9. Pigs. Pigs are useful for meat and for their tilling tendencies. A few pigs can be quite handy to turn a large compost pile as they root for fermented grain or other edible garden waste. They are efficient at turning food into meat and will eat anything. If you want to get into raising pigs, start with a smaller breed and really good fencing. Nothing wrecks a garden faster than an eagerly rooting pig. So there you have it, the 9 most popular animals among homesteaders. To learn more about this, check out the Backyard Homestead Guide to Raising Farm Animals. It's a great place to start. Okay, I actually thought that was going to take a little bit longer than that, but it didn't, so. So that was the 9 most popular homestead animals from, once again, the Homestead Survival site. So, just little tidbits of information there and things to think about on starting your homestead and what animals to use. Sorry, I just found one on starting a worm farm. That's gonna go in composting. Sorry. I get lost on Pinterest. Anyway, so again, that's that one. And I might do, I don't know. I might get to another one before I have to go to work, maybe, I don't know. There's a couple of others in here that I'm thinking of, but anyway, I'm going to get off from here. Hope everybody had a good night. Didn't really start my video out normally, but kind of have a lot of things on my mind right now between short work hours and other things. So anyway, but I'm going to get this video out there, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.